AG1 sells a greens powder for $3 a day, and they've built that one product into a brand bringing in $600 million in annual revenue. But they're not doing anything crazy. They follow the same three-step funnel as every other ecom brand. Acquisition, conversion, retention. That's it. But if it's really that simple, how did they go from shady affiliate supplement to a global greens powder that A-list celebrities like Hugh Jackman and Joe Rogan put their name on the line for on a weekly basis? Well, that's exactly what I'm breaking down in this video. We're going to be diving deep into each step of AG1's funnel and pulling apart why it works so well based on my experience getting to see under the hood of hundreds of e-commerce brands that run the same playbooks over the last 5 years. So the first step in every ecom funnel is getting eyeballs on your website in the first place, or better known as acquisition. This is how a brand gets in front of people who have never heard of them. And it's the most important part of any marketing funnel, because if you're not consistently finding more net new customers to sell your product to, you get stuck in this infinite loop trying to sell your product to the same tiny pool of people. So this step sets the ceiling for every other part of your funnel. And it's something AG1 does extremely well. See, whipping up a couple static ads and videos and launching them on Facebook isn't enough, because you can have the best landing pages and email flows in the world, but if the traffic hitting them is cold, expensive, and not pre-framed correctly, they won't convert. Which is why the brands scaling the fastest don't just buy more attention than others. They buy the right kind of attention and do it in ways that unlock new types of customers. And in AG1's case, they did it by leveraging two main acquisition channels. First was podcasts. They were extremely early adopters of paying niche health podcast hosts in the 2010s. It was a moment in time where people still thought podcasts were cringe, so podcast hosts completely undervalued themselves. They didn't know just how rich their audiences were, so AG1 unlocked a massive arbitrage that let them tap into one of the most engaged group of buyers of all time. Over the years, they embedded their product in the daily routines of the most trusted voices in health and performance. People like Andrew Huberman, Tim Ferriss, and Joe Rogan. These guys were drinking AG1 on camera and organically recommending it to their guests, and as a byproduct, naturally showing how they used it in their everyday routine. That changed everything, because when a stranger sees an ad online, they're naturally skeptical. But when Huberman, a neuroscientist whose audience already trusts him, says he drinks AG1 every day, the brand instantly inherits that trust too, which means they're not just paying for more eyeballs on the product, they're buying credibility. Now, this type of marketing is harder to track down from a ROAS perspective, and most brands just see it more as a halo effect or tracking the long tail of code usage, which is why most brands avoid it. But when it's done right, the brand becomes so familiar that when it comes time to buy, it's seamless. You trust it. Now, that brings us to the second half of AG1's acquisition engine, the channel every brand is already running, and that's Meta. Right now, AG1 has over 370 ads running in real time. Now, unlike most brands that are only testing a couple concepts at one time, AG1 has a full spectrum of ad creative. Week over week, they're finding new winners to fund the next round of tests. Winners get scaled up, losers get dialed down, and they then throw their entire weight behind the next wave of ad creative. And to show you what I mean, let's go ahead and jump into their ad library. All right, so here is their ad library. As you can see right here, they're running 370 total ads. And as I scroll down, and I'm gonna punch into a few of them in a second, but just take a look at the breadth of ad creative they've got. They've got statics, they've got videos, every single one of the scroll stoppers and thumbnails you see here is completely different, which obviously that is one of the biggest things with creative testing these days, is having visual variants, not just different concepts. And as we're about to see, the actual angle of every single one is completely different. All right, let's take a look at this first one. So this one is definitely more for someone who is very aware of athletic greens, because all it is the welcome offer. These kinds of ads absolutely crush when people are hyper aware of a brand, because at the end of the day, what you're pushing is some basic angle and just the offer itself. You see a lot of language like percent off, dollar off, free gift, and as you can see here, sure, it is a static image where it says minimize your stack, maximize your results, but that's pretty broad. The goal of this kind of ad is to show it to somebody who has probably seen AG1 in the wild, maybe seen a few of their ads, and you're trying to get them to convert just because it's a really, really compelling offer. Then we've got one that I would say is very top of funnel. They're using Hugh Jackman as the authority and just hitting on a lot of different benefit points to why you should take athletic greens. Things like the ingredients, the prebiotics, probiotics, multivitamins, all the jazz of what makes athletic greens good, but it's not going really deep. This is where I would say this is a unaware ad, where someone watching this knows more about Hugh than they know about AG1, and the goal is just getting them on the website to learn more about AG1. But now let's look at a few ads that are deeper in this level of awareness to people who might know what AG1 is, have certain problems, certain pain points, and objections that AG1 tries to hit either in the copy or the video itself. All right, so here's one ad, and this one is amazing for multiple reasons. First is everything about it is trying to tackle immune immune support. You see it in the copy up here, and you also see it in the headline down here. And then when you look at the scroll stopper or the first 3 seconds of the video ad, you hear her calling herself out as a teacher. Now you've got two things going on here. You know that AG1 helps with immunity, and you know that teachers take it. Then the rest of the ad goes through a bunch of pain points like chaos in the classroom, relaxing when I have my break, knowing full well that she can have the confidence of not having to pack her lunch and do all these crazy things that, hey, I've got this simple drink, I drink it every day, my life is hectic, but I know it's gonna be okay and I'm gonna be healthy because I'm drinking AG1. You've got a pain point and you've got a persona. And here's another one. This one is a slightly different product, so I guess that's not the most fair comparison, but for their brand new sleep product, notice how the start of this, it says PSA, cortisol can keep you from unwinding at night. That is way stronger than just saying, hey, we'll help you sleep better. It specifically uses words like unwind before bed, supports restorative sleep, and helps you wake up feeling refreshed. They use the word cortisol because that's kind of in the zeitgeist right now. Everybody's using that word in their ads. And then the entire ad has this like lo-fi music with, again, notice how the drinker of AG1 here is a nurse. And as you watch the ad, notice how it does a really similar thing to the teacher ad a second ago. You've got a nurse, she's stressed out, and she's giving you a walkthrough of her daily life of how she uses AG sleep to stay in tip-top shape. It's also a little bit more lo-fi. The other one was higher production, but from a visual standpoint, it really just looks like a native Instagram reel. Everything from the captions to the actual shots, and then it ends with this really clean graphic here that shows the product line and restates the benefit. The nightly drink for winding down and resting up. Super coherent, very focused. Here's another one. You've got a musician who's on the road, he's constantly on the go, he's staying up late at night, and the way that he gets in his vitamins, his minerals, and make sure that he's staying strong is drinking AG1. I could look through this all day and keep pointing out different kinds of angles and hooks and ways they're testing different visual elements, not just the personas and the angles, but I hope this is super clear that every single ad they run is intentional. It's not some lazy attempt of just going into Canva or Photoshop and whipping up some upper third headlines, testing little tiny mechanisms here and there. They're reaching out to completely different people and getting a range of low production to high production ads and editing them in ways to where they're packaging some kind of big pain point, some kind of big benefit, and testing them in really methodical ways. Now, getting people to click on your ad and getting them to the website is only step one. Getting them to actually convert and buy your product is the next step. This is where most of your money is won or lost. And every little improvement in conversion rate reduces the average cost of acquiring your next customer because you're getting more out of every site visitor. Unfortunately, this is also the one step where most brands tend to cap themselves. They send 90% of all traffic to a basic product page and cross their fingers that their ads do all the selling. AG1 does something completely different. Nearly every ad they run sends to a unique landing page. You click an AG1 ad about energy, and instead of dumping you on a basic product page, they send you to a unique one with a headline that opens with how top performers use AG1 to power their day. The ad made a promise about energy, and the page immediately pays it off. The congruency is what gets them to buy, because you're selling them on the exact reason they clicked on your ad, not just because they showed general interest. And even if someone lands on their website and doesn't immediately purchase, AG1 doesn't just let them disappear, because within a couple seconds, their welcome pop-up fires. And it's not your usual 5 to 10% off kind of deal, because most people these days are numb to offers that just aren't valuable. Instead, AG1 leverages a mini quiz pop-up. Before they even ask for your email, they get you to click on the reason why you came to AG1 and get a micro commitment out of you. And when you see it, you tap. Then you find out that you're not only getting 20% off, but you're getting a suite of free gifts if you subscribe today. And even if you don't buy at that point, they now have the ability to practically sell to you for free over the coming days and weeks over email and SMS, which is what we're gonna be covering next. But for now, let's go back and jump into a couple of their landing pages. All right, so I'm back into Facebook ad library, and I'm going to click on a few of their different ads to show you the pages that they're actively running to. All right, let's start with the immunity ad that we checked out a little bit ago. So here we go. When we're on the page, it's /immune-support, and look at this. They're doing a lot here. First, in the headline, they've got immune support made simple. They're calling back to what you already saw in the ad. Most brands would just put a hero image of a model or a lifestyle photo, but they went through the extra effort to edit this little tagline that says AG1 supports immune defense. Really tiny detail, but it matters. And then as you scroll down, this is where you get a lot of specific benefits just around immunity. Notice right here, it says, like every ingredient in AG1, our immune system supporting ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. I can imagine this same exact section being on a future landing page that says bloat system. So imagine it said, meet your stomach bloat system supporters, like every ingredient in AG1, our bloat system supporting ingredients are sourced for yada, yada, yada. Again, notice what they're doing. The ad talked about immunity. Above the fold, you've got 3 little call outs inside of the heading, the body copy, and in the hero image that refers to immunity. Then as you go down the page in all of the different headlines, you always see the one word: immune, immunity, something to do with your immune system. Imagine if you are strapped on cash and you don't have all the different assets and resources AG1 has. All it takes is a simple word change, but doing it consistently across the entire page in every section, and even in subliminal icons and callouts like you see here. All right, going through ad library again, let's go ahead and go back to the straight offer ad and see what that links you to. And look at this. We've got a whole bunch of things going down here, so let me just go from top to bottom and we'll strip it down. All right, it starts off with the headline, built for high performers, formulated to simplify your stack. Because this is their brand new pro bundle, and again, this is a more aware type ad where the offer is the most important, they're really just trying to show you, hey, if you buy today, you get this brand new deal with a Yeti shaker, and instead of having to buy a million different things like CA-HMB, zinc carnosine, and all these other things, you can get it in nice, easy travel packs. And notice this, because the ad was very broad, notice how they're not just committing to one single angle. They call out very broad ones like performance, longevity, or one that's a little bit more niche and new is GLP-1 journey. And I imagine as we go down this page, it's probably going to be very topical, very surface level, more about the ingredients, the product itself, and it's again not going to commit to one single angle. It's going to be more broad because what you came for was the offer, not the pain point or the problem. So as I go down, we've got this nice little section that talks about the different ingredients. You've got creatine, zinc, CA-HMB. They're going more towards the investment, so this is more of a cost point. Again, because you're coming in for the offer, you were pre-framed to only look at the free Yeti shaker and the discount you're getting by only getting AG1 instead of all these other different kinds of supplements. So that's all they're painting here. Then as we keep going down, notice this. We've got the same ingredient section we saw from the immunity page, and notice how they're just saying, hey, we've got like 70, 80 really good ingredients. They're optimized for impact, and obviously you're going to save money if you get all of them just in our thing. And they ended off just by giving more authority by showing the different tests and studies they've done and how people drinking AG1 have benefited from it. All right, and let's look at one more. I think I'm going to go with this one that talks about first responders because I'm interested to see what they could possibly put on that kind of landing page. All right, so look at this. This is a really interesting one, similar to how people use things like Klarna, Affirm, and Afterpay, is they're giving a unique discount to a certain kind of person. You've got the ID Me badge at the top, and everything here is specifically calling out to, hey, you are a first responder, a crucial worker, someone that we really care about, and because you are, here's a special discount that only you can get. It's more offer focused, but notice how they didn't just send people to the homepage and then assume that they would know to click on, hey, if you're a military man or a first responder, go ahead and claim this discount. They took the initiative to make this entire page around, hey, click this button right now, you're gonna save a lot, and here are the exact steps on how you can do it. And as we go down, there are a lot of just general 5-star reviews, ingredients, comparison charts, so this isn't as focused as the other ones, but it doesn't have to be. This kind of ad is the equivalent of when you get those emails in your inbox and it says your first name. It's hyper personalized to you. And if you're a first responder and you've ever even heard of AG1 and you see you can get 25% off, plus you get the free gifts and stacks that are unlocked when you're a first-time customer, as you can see here, you're obviously gonna bite. This is why AG1 is where they are. They not only have that spectrum of ads that we talked about a minute ago, but they are very methodical of how they push those people from ad to landing page and sell them on the reasons why they clicked on the ad in the first place. Now, once people click on an ad and land on AG1's website, they're split into 3 different groups. First, there's the group that immediately buys after landing on their page. Second, the group that lands on the website doesn't buy immediately, but they signed up to the welcome pop-up. And third, there's a group that doesn't sign up and doesn't buy at all. Now, this last group just gets retargeted with ads over time and inevitably falls into one of these first 2 buckets. And that's where retention comes into play. See, retention is simply maximizing the value of prospects and customers you've already captured instead of trying to go out and buy expensive new ones. And it looks completely different depending on which group someone's in. For the first group, the people who already bought, it's evergreen campaigns and post-purchase flows. These are ongoing emails and texts that give returning customers more reasons to buy in the future, like new product drops, seasonal promos, or complete the collection type journeys. For the people who opted into the pop-up but haven't bought yet, it's a welcome series that onboards them to the brand, handling their objections, educating them, and walking them to the path of buying their first product. Combined, this retention system is what takes prospects from your ads and your website and turns them into customers who buy over and over again. Now, if building these systems for yourself sounds like a lot of work, you're not wrong. My team and I have spent years building the retention systems I just broke down for dozens of 8 and 9-figure brands. And if you want these kinds of systems too, I can help by running a deep dive retention audit for your brand. That means letting me jump into Shopify and Klaviyo to map out your entire campaign and flow structures. That way, I can pinpoint where you're leaking revenue and what needs to be fixed first. And because you're watching this video right now, I'll do it completely free. So if you're interested, go to the description, first link, book a call, and we'll see if we can help. Now, with that said, let me show you what part of AG1's retention system looks like by checking out the recent email campaigns and flows. All right, so here we go. Here are a bunch of the recent emails that AG1 has sent over the last few weeks. And overall, they do a pretty good job of mixing up the different kinds of hero campaigns, promos, educationals, and pushing certain offers to certain people. Let's go ahead and jump into a few of them. All right, so this one here is for their brand new product. They're finally getting into gummies. And as you can see, they've got this nice little pencil banner at the top that says new. They're introducing the gummies with this nice little hero shot and saying, hey, be the first to try. Then as you go down, they do a product breakdown with 4 different ingredients of why it's good, why you should care. And then at the end, they assure you that they've done the kinds of testing that they've done for the powder product to make you feel confident in it. All right, here's another one. This one is angled to people who are not yet on the subscription, and they're trying to tie it with a summer angle. It says, don't pause your health this summer. Travel disrupts routines, AG1 doesn't. Subscribe now and get a free travel kit, 7 travel packs plus case with your first order. One thing that AG1 tends to do time and time again is they are constantly pushing whatever the main hero bundle is, and in this case, it's the free travel kit with the additional sachets. Very simple campaign. Now, let's actually take a look at the flows that they're sending, specifically the welcome flow. The emails that you get after you sign up to their pop-up. So let me go ahead and jump in. This is what their current welcome flow looks like. The first one, without jumping in, is welcome to the community. The second one goes into the quality of AG1. Next is it paints the picture of what it's going to feel like in the first 90 days of being on it. The fourth email is painting it as an investment rather than a cost. The fifth is showing you what consistency will look like, and so on. Let's go ahead and jump into a few of them. All right, so this is the very first email you have from AG1, and right at the top, doesn't look perfect. It could probably be cleaned up a little bit more, but they're giving you the 20% off your first subscription with a dynamic code. They got this nice little hero shot of all the things that come in the standard welcome kit. Remember, some people from some ads are getting different kinds of promos, kits, and intro offers, so this is just the evergreen kit offer. Then as you go down, it shows you all the different subscription perks and tries to get you to start your subscription today. Then in email number 2, they go really hard into the science. They talk about all the different tests that they've run, the different researchers, very big authoritative spokespeople who are behind the brand, and at the very end, like usual, they show the entire kit and say, hey, put it to work, buy it today, subscribe. And then in this next email, they start painting the picture of what it looks like of when you try AG1 and you stick with it. And in this email, they start painting the first 90 days of using AG1. What happens if you try it and what happens if you stick with it? So you've got day 1 where they talk about, hey, you're gonna start filling the nutrition gaps that you have. Boom, day 14, you're gonna have energy boosts. Day 30, you're gonna feel less bloated. Your work is gonna get so much better. Day 60, it's your health, it's your skin. 90, you're part of the family. These are the kinds of emails that work really good for subscription brands, especially ones that have unique selling proposition, benefits, and things that actually change your life physically or mentally. And then at the very end, they got this nice little banner that just says, subscribe to AG1. And again, every single email in their welcome flow is trying to push one core offer, and every single welcome flow is like a mini billboard. They're trying to hit on some kind of angle to get the person who's reading and engaging with it to make that first purchase. And if you're interested on how top 1% brands like AG1 build these kinds of welcome flows and welcome pop-ups, I've got a 60-page guide inside the description for free. Just click it, you can download it today. But all to say, this is what you have to do to first-time customers to actually get them to convert when they join your list. It's one of the most important building blocks of your retention system, so you should put a lot of attention and focus into it. That's exactly how e-commerce brands like AG1 scale so fast feels illegal. But here's the thing. The reason they can run ads so aggressively and spend so much on acquisition is because they don't rely on one-off orders. They run on subscription, the same as all the other fast-growing brands in e-com right now. And if you want to see how these subscription brands are scaling and how you could potentially incorporate subscriptions to grow your brand faster, watch this video next. I'll see you there.